Hello, guys. I am Shane Davis, 20-year comic book veteran. I'm here with Yanzi Lynn, and today is the day we are talking about comic books once again as DC Comics. This is coming out from Rob Liefeld. Rumor is he has people in his ear right now telling him that DC Comics, the brand is on fire. They need to do an ultimate version of the characters. Now, this is coming off the success of Ultimate Spider-Man by Hickman right now. But I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of this and why DC Comics almost did basically an ultimate version, but ended up with Earth One. But right now, Rob says DC is doing an Ultimates Comics. Let's get into it.
So the specific quote from Rob is that he says, DC is absolutely doing an ultimate reboot. I know people at the helm, the people in charge, a lot of people called, a lot of people solicited to be a part of it. I've mostly spoken to people who didn't choose to go on board. I don't think it's as far along as the Marvel stuff. So this is interesting. We know that Rob actually has some insider baseball on a lot of stuff he's called, and it happened to come true. Now, Rich Johnson is, of course, offering an alternate take, saying that it's going to follow the Dawn of DC initiative, which we know didn't get very much traction, actually. So it seems more likely that whatever Rob is implying is the more likely scenario to happen. After all, you have over here Rich Johnson saying Scott Snyder is going to come back. Really? Scott Snyder, after he is running around to every other company except Marvel and DC to work for them? I don't think so.
Well, for the right amount of money, he probably would. And now I'm not going to speculate on that. What's interesting about this is the timing of things. Right now, we have an Ultimate Spider-Man that's actually people are liking it, very well received. From my understanding, it's kind of like not back to basics, but it's an older Peter Parker married with kids doing Spider-Man stuff. Now, what's interesting about this is it would basically represent, in the world of representation, this represents a heterosexual man with a wife and kids as a superhero, Caucasian, the demographic that Marvel and DC aren't looking for. And then they apply a little elbow grease to it, and then all of a sudden it's a hit. So what does that say about the built-in fan base that Marvel and DC has, the actual comic readers and buyers? Like, who does that represent? Or maybe just this version is a better representation of Spider-Man, period.
To be fair, Spider-Man has had a lot of rough breaks in life. I think he finally deserves to have a family, finally deserves to have some kids. But, for some people to say, oh my God, that is so heteronormative. How dare he have a nuclear family and stuff. So we know that Marvel and DC have been really playing this whole let's chase the LGBTQIA community card in the past few years, like really chasing it hard. You have gay fashion designer Spider-Man, you have that wheelchair-bound Spider-Man and all this stuff, which, doesn't make any sense if you think about it, like, oh, you have super regenerative powers and you chose to stay in a wheelchair. Like, okay, fine, whatever. Then, of course, we know DC has been bisexualing up all their male superheroes as of late. I think basically in all the major houses, whether you think is Batman, Superman, or Wonder Woman, or Aquaman, all this stuff, Flash, every single one of these properties has at least one LGBTQIA community member. So this seems to be a way of them saying, you know what, let's go back to what is considered the heteronormative, the 95% of the human population. Maybe they want to finally see themselves represented for a change. Oh my gosh, what a new and brave take.
Or the reality is, just looking at it from a fan's perspective, Spider-Man basically quit moving forward as a character there for a long time because of the movies. That's the short and sweet of it, is people needed Mary Jane and Peter Parker divorced because they wouldn't be married in the movies. They would be meeting for the first time. And the average guy, the idea was we would come across a new Spider-Man fan and it would confuse them to start off with the characters married. So in a way that caused the character to end up, divorcing the character, or One More Day, whatever it was that JMS did, all of that whole thing, undoing the marriage, secret identity stuff. So Spider-Man, just as a character, has had a rough time, because of all the transmedia possibilities of the character, having to tell his origin story over and over and over again with every movie reboot. All those things make the character complicated. Now, this book, for me, would just kind of be pushing the character forward in concept from where I was happy with the character. Now we're going to see kids. We're going to see what married life with kids is for the old web slinger, all that stuff. Now, what's interesting when we go back to the Ultimate stuff is when I was working at DC Comics, basically the main characters at DC Comics were supposed to disappear in Infinite Crisis, I think it was. It was going to be Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Hawkman, some characters. Green Lantern was doing really well, so that wasn't on the chopping block. And this was kind of like a secret thing that Dan DiDio was doing. And of course, this went up to Paul Levitz and certain people. What came to be Earth One started off with a memo called Ultimate DC. True story. It was pushed up under the door of every editor's office one morning as a memo. And then Dan or somebody, his assistant, realized the name of the title or the series was Ultimate DC, which looked like you were just copying Marvel. And then they pulled the memo back. Of course, some editors had already gotten it. They saw it before they could yank it back. And the reality is Paul Levitz wasn't too happy. And then it went away, and then it came back as Earth One graphic novels. The initiative was to come up with a new version of Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. See, you have to understand Ultimates for Marvel at the time was a really great cake and eat it too. Kept all the continuity, all of that stuff in the traditional Marvel universe. But you could explore new concepts and new things like Mark Miller and Brian Hitch did with the Ultimates, which helped develop the movies quite a bit. This is actually the best scenario for DC in a lot of ways. And I think there's a lot of utility to it in a lot of ways for the company. But one, because I believe the brand is hurt. Things like Thundercats are selling over 100,000 copies. They need a clean slate. This Ultimates thing, clean slate. Fans right now want to read comics, but they're wanting a clean slate. Now, you could, at DC Comics, go, we're just going to do a wide line reboot. That takes a lot of resources. Or you could just cherry pick your top characters, give them an Ultimates line, Ultimates book, and hire a handful of ace creators. We've seen this time and time again. Marvel Knights was one of great example where it was like an imprint sort of certain characters, and you would hire top talent. And those books had different budgets than the regular Marvel books. So they were able to achieve new sales by having better quality books. The Ultimates line, again, another one of those scenarios, we're going to come in and pay what at the time was an insane rate for what I understand Brian Hitch was getting. Get Mark Miller, Brian Bendis, do Ultimate Spider-Man, and then from there build out. And that was only 2 titles, Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate X-Men, and eventually Ultimate Fantastic Four came from that. Eventually the Ultimate line fell. But short-term gains in development and research, that's a lot. It could really spike in comic book interest back into the reading market. It could also develop research and development stuff that they could use for entertainment and stuff like this. It really makes a lot of sense. It actually makes too much sense for DC to do this. Like, what I mean by that is they almost did it before, and I'm still surprised they never did it. The problem with the original graphic novel line, that for better or worse, is they take too long to make. By the time they run galleys and stuff, that's just 6 months just running the book in galleys for reviews and the book market and stuff like that, marketing the book. DC Comics actually needs a quick pivot. They need to get into monthlies. They do need an Ultimate line. What will they call it? All-Star line was a fiasco. No continuity there and late creatives. Have they learned their lessons to get this to work?
So for people who are wondering, so why don't they just reboot their whole mainstream lines? Well, here's the thing. Imagine if they suddenly said, by the way, Tim Drake is no longer bisexual. Oh.
Where is that?
Oh my, did they just hate crime? Did they just hate crime, Robin?
They would automatically be phobic as a company and brand overnight. They have painted themselves in the corner with the community and representation. So build a imprint line where you don't have to cater to that while you cater to it in the direct line. If you guys will, please go sign up for Inglorious Rex 2 Second Chance campaign with new covers. We are launching this campaign as we get ready to go to print. It'll be a short run campaign, no in demand. If you want to get any notifications or access to secret tiers, all you got to do is go over to 9 Lives Comics, punch in your email address, and you are signed up. If you already signed up for Inglorious Rex 2, no need to. I want to thank you guys for all the support and joining us on this awesome book as we get ready to go to print. I'll leave you guys with a trailer for Inglorious Rex 2, Heavy is the Crown.
I shake the ground. Can't touch the crown, but you can kiss the ring. Close your eyes and see how I live a dream. I'm too smooth, MJ with the lean. Don't be fooled, I came through with the team. This is over their heads, how high can it go? I'm too over the edge, got my eyes on the goal. And we right back at it, keep them right on their toes. Look at the way that I move, this is all that I know. Cause I got the drive, I put it in gear. Line them up, I don't see no competitors here. If it ain't first place, we really can't settle for it. Listen up, listen up. Get ready for it.